Hi everyone, it's great to see you. I'm going to be telling you about what I do for fertilizing and soil amending for my hydrangeas today. Now, if you go online and you look on YouTube and on Facebook, everybody has their own trick, their own way of fertilizing their hydrangeas. When a lot of them are really different from each other, so you need to choose what's going to work for you. I'm not sponsored by any of these products. It just happens to be what seems to be working well for myself and my plants, and I thought I would share that with you. So I do two major fertilizing times, once in the spring and then once at the end of July. And I try not to do that last fertilizing much past the end of July because here in 6B we get a frost about mid-October, and I want my plants to sort of be settling down, not putting out lots of growth. I want them to get ready for the winter. So in the very beginning of May and then end of July, I go to my plants and my hydrangeas get one of two things. They get either Hollytone, and notice I have a very big bag of Hollytone because I use this on a lot. My hydrangeas that I want to bloom blue or purple, I use the Hollytone for. It also is a soil acidifier, and that's what makes most of your hydrangeas change that color. So this is great, and I know a lot of people online are using this and have seen really good results too. And you just follow the directions. You take the amount they say, it's about a cup. I usually eyeball it, I have to tell you, and sprinkle it around the bush, work it into the soil a little bit, water it in, and you're all set. And it lasts until you give it another shot in the end of July. Now, I like a lot of my hydrangeas to be pink. So for those hydrangeas, I don't give them Hollytone because that would make it more acidic, more likely that they're going to be blue or purple. Instead, I give them rose tone. So rose tone is going to promote the good blooming, but it doesn't have the acid piece to it. So it's a good choice for those hydrangeas that you want to stay pink. Now for those hydrangeas that I want pink, I also add some garden lime. Now garden lime is not a fertilizer. So I can do this later in the fall, that's fine. I tend to do once in the spring, once in the fall. I give a cup of garden lime around the edge of those hydrangeas that I want to be pink or more on the purple side. And this just makes your soil less acidic and changes the color. It doesn't change it automatically with like one dose of this. This is something that builds up. So I do it the 2 times, and I have seen that they're keeping that pinkier purple color, the ones that I add this to. So I'm going to keep doing that. However, that fall application, I tend to do more September or October because this is not going to have it putting on crazy new growth. It's just for the soil. Now, a lot of you have seen me use the Biotone Starter Plus. And this is a fertilizer, and it's used whenever you're planting something new. And that would be whenever you're planting something new. Spring, midsummer, fall, it doesn't matter. When you dig your hole for your plant, you would sprinkle this in the bottom. It helps the roots to establish, and it's specially formulated for that initial planting time. So this is not one of those, use it in the spring, use it at the end of July. This is going to be just that initial planting whenever it is. Notice that I'm almost out of this. I use this a lot. Now, when I went to carry these all out for the video, I was like, wow, I have a lot of fertilizer. I thought I should mention a couple others that I have there too. So these are like the big gun fertilizers, but they also have water-soluble fertilizers. If you're planting annuals, it's a great idea to be using a water-soluble fertilizer with them every single week. It gives them like that, I don't know, that shot of, you can keep flowering for the rest of the summer, and it keeps them going. Our hydrangea are pretty much done blooming right now, at least mine. We have some still going here. But this is really if you want to keep the blossoms of your annuals or whatever's currently in bloom going. I have a couple of options that I tend to use. One is Sea Grow. This is water soluble, and it's really for flower and bloom. So it has a high middle number here. The middle number is all about the blooming here. You take a little scoop and you put it in your watering can and you just dump it on your annuals. The other water-soluble type that I like is proven winners water-soluble plant food. Now, one of the reasons I like this is because there's chelated iron in it. So if you have a plant that is showing signs of chlorosis, which is an iron deficiency, you need to somehow address that. And I'll link down below, I have a video on chlorosis in my hydrangeas, so it does happen to me. And there are a couple ways you can address it. If you're using a water soluble like this with the chelated iron, it's a very quick way to have your plant respond and perk back up after having an iron deficiency. So you'll notice that the plant's leaves are getting really dark veins and kind of a lemony yellow color on the foliage in between the veins. That's a sign that they have chlorosis. It happens to hydrangeas a lot. It also happens to many other plants that you have. So if you want a deep, dark green, real lush looking foliage, you want good iron. But with the water soluble, it sucks it up. It'll help short term, but you have to keep going every single week to add that water soluble iron in there and keep the leaves that way. When that happens to my hydrangea, I like to use the iron tone. So this is a much more long-term solution, and you can use this whenever you see that your plant has an iron deficiency. You don't want to go, uh-oh, it's September, it has iron deficiency, but we're past the end of July cutoff, so I can't help them out. Instead, we know that we really want to help the plants, and you go ahead and you would give it some of this iron tone. Now the iron tone, just like our more serious fertilizers here, you take about a cup and you sprinkle it around the drip edge of your plant and you work it into the soil and you water it. It takes a couple weeks, but you're going to have a much longer lasting replacement of that iron in your soil. So this you use as needed whenever you see those signs of chlorosis occurring in your plants. And I did notice some just the other day. I need to get out and add some to my plants. So a good one to have on hand here. This does have a little fertilizer in it. Not a ton and not enough that I would say it's worth putting off using it. Even if it was in the fall a bit, because you do need to address your iron deficiency, but just be aware that, you know, if you're putting this on with your holly tone, and it could be a lot that's all adding together. Just keep that in mind as you add this in. I have a couple more here. I have Asthma Coat. Asthma Coat is just one brand, but there are a lot of other slow release fertilizers. So Asthma Coat looks like little tiny round balls, and you sprinkle them around your plant, and they're a slow time release fertilizer. This lasts about 3 to 4 months. So I tend to put this in my garden at the beginning of the spring. I just do it once, and I know that it'll be getting some nutrients in the ground from this. And then I also grabbed the mill organite. So I do not use mill organite on my hydrangeas, I have to tell you. Mill organite is high in nitrogen. It makes itself very well known because it smells very, very strongly. And the rabbits around here really do not like the smell of mill organite. So I tend to sprinkle this around plants that I'm having bunny trouble with, especially my hostas. It's great for leaf production. So if you aren't worried about the blooms on those plants, like with a hosta, this is a great choice to add that nitrogen to it. Great for your grass too. So I do use this a lot in my garden. It's the type of thing that you walk out the door and you go, oh, I put the mill organite down yesterday. But it does eventually fade. It's just, you know, that healthy, extra lush growth in your greenery that you will see. So I do keep this in here. In fact, when you walk into the shed, you go, oh, there's a lot of fertilizer in here. They all have kind of a strong smell, but totally worth it because your plants need that food. So I hope this was at least interesting for you and that you took some ideas away here for things that you could use in your garden. And the most important thing is to be looking at your plants, walking around your garden, enjoying it. And then if you notice one is suffering a little bit, you know, jump online, see if maybe one of these is something that might help. Thanks so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.